Okay, so quick recap. Uh, 19 broke the crew, senior staff last episode. That's basically what happened last episode. There was some other stuff that went on, but that was the long and short of it. Uh,
Sometimes you make a simulation and have the senior staff undergo it, and one of them fails a lot of their resolve checks.
Let's just say I the last time I had to make that many gut checks was in a Call of Cthulhu campaign.
So
I've never had to make that many ever.
It was, to be fair, a very interesting episode, very insightful, and it's probably going to take a while for the crew to kind of recover from it. We start with that a step in that recovery process in the sick bay of the Dauntless, where the office doors are closed. You guys are kind of grouped up inside Dr. Pierce's office. You guys being 19, the captain, and Jonas.
Is Pierce with us too?
Oh yes, he is there with you.
Group therapy.
Basically. So Jordan, the doctor says, all right, Jonas, you looked the worst for wear after the simulation. Can you talk about what you've been experiencing since then?
Emotionally or physically?
Both.
Emotionally, it's there's a lot. I just keep repeating over and over in the back of my head that people I knew, people I grew up with, they went through this. And then there are these little moments where, I don't know, I feel like I'm weirdly enough back in the collective, and it's just in these odd little moments of quiet, and I feel like I'm back there, and there's no me, there's not anything, there's just the drive of being bored. There's just that need to do what I'm supposed to do, and then nothing. And then when I realize when I'm feeling that, it's like being dunked in an ice bath. And it's hard to make my hands stop shaking sometimes.
Captain, what about you?
Well, everybody knows that my journey to being the captain of this ship was not entirely my choosing. Normally, under normal circumstances, the path to the captain's chair is a lot more competitive, you have to really want it. In a way, I never did, and I've always been uncertain of myself. I've never been so certain as I was when I was a simulated drone. Everything had a purpose. Everything was predetermined, predefined. For the first time in my life, I wasn't conflicted about anything. I was just Borg. And there's a part of me that wishes I still had that certainty, that clarity of purpose.
I'm sorry,
strange.
Go ahead.
It's strange, to say the least.
For my part... Oh, sorry.
No, I was done. I was just saying I was done.
Oh, okay. For my part, Dr. Pierce says, I attempted to engage in some clinical dissociation during the course of the simulation, but even then, the experience was surreal, and as you have kind of implied, Captain, very seductive. The call for perfection, the call to want to be a part of something greater than yourself, speaks to our better natures, but the Borg take that, I think, and pervert it. They take that toward their own ends, and we've seen where those ends lead.
Someone recently told me that we have to balance that against the destruction that the Borg leave in their wake. And she just kind of like looks at Jonas, not just kind of out of reflex, not because she's trying to make a point or anything. And then she looks back at Pierce and she says, and that our uncertainty is part of what makes us who we are. And I should remember that.
Do their experiences kind of mesh up to what you had experienced as a drone?
In part.
Was that
the simulation? Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The simulation was a poor representation, in spite of everything.
Poor in what way?
Limited. There's no way to fully simulate the collective or the hive mind without proper integration. There's no way to expose the truth of things when you're capable of emotion. Yes, you understand the drive and the need for perfection that is common to all drones, but I still struggle with the idea of remorse, whereas none of you do.
What do you think leads to that struggle? Is it the lack of autonomy over so long a time?
Perhaps it was something left behind before I was assimilated. I'm not sure. All I know is you all feel very differently in such a short span of time than I do. And I feel slightly envious of it.
After the long quiet, Dr. Pierce says, "All right, I think I would like for us to continue these meetings. I'll look at everyone's schedules and I will let you know when we can have the next one."
What would Bianca need to roll to hear a thought?
Depending, it kind of depends on whether you want her to be able to hear it.
It's an unconscious kind of
Fleeting thoughts Bianca can pick up. Just like if there was a smell that wafted through the room.
If it's like a persistent thought, would that still count?
Yes. Although it's something, telepathy and to a lesser extent empathy are something that Bianca has to work to suppress. So she has to actively, it's like actively turning down the volume on a radio. Otherwise, the radio volume is at 5 or whatever. You can kind of turn it up or down. I imagine most of the time Bianca would have it turned down, but even then she might be able to hear spikes in the volume. Does that make sense?
Which she is used to doing with her empathy, because part of her thing is that she just wants to tune it all out. But because her telepathy is just starting to kind of
manifest.
Manifest, then she doesn't have that much control over turning down the volume, so to speak. So she's probably more susceptible to just hearing spikes of things.
Okay, so the entire time as everyone's been talking, especially when Jonas has been talking, you've been getting huge spikes of guilt coming off of. And then whenever 19 has been asked a question in conjunction with various things, you've heard the continuous loop of a thought of, at least I didn't expose you to children having to undergo this. But it's never been said. But that's a constant thought of, at least they didn't have to see children.
Right. And as everyone kind of files out, Bianca's just going to kind of pat 19 on the arm as they walk out. And she's actually going
a strange side eye.
Soft smile, and she's actually going to stay behind for a little bit with Dr. Pierce.
Is it our duty shift right now, or is this after our shift?
It's actually, I'm going to say before.
Okay.
So you guys are getting ready to go on shift.
Doctor,
Yes, Captain.
I believe a human phrase, physician, heal thyself, is appropriate here.
I think so too.
I want you to be seeing the counselor. I appreciate you trying to look out and take care of us, but I'm worried for you too.
I am, ma'am.
All right. And she just kind of, half smiles as she walks out.
Okay, we will flip over to the bridge. As you guys are kind of settling into your duty stations, the officer of the day stands up, says, "Captain on deck,"
Eddie's.
and everyone kind of relaxes. Folks start shifting in and out of the room. One of the ensigns at a station behind the captain's chair says, "Captain, we're being hailed by the USS Yorktown."
On screen.
Okay. Let's see. Give me just a second here. Ah, good. USS Dauntless. Captain West, is it, right?
That would be me.
Captain Stiles.
What can I do for you, Captain? Bianca settles into the command chair as she says so.
He comes on screen. He says, "Well, there's a couple of matters. First off, I've got a couple of personnel to transfer to your command. Second, I'd like an in-briefing as soon as you're available. Yorktown is coming in to assume command of the Carina Nebula Task Force."
And Bianca kind of tilts her head and she goes, Karen and Nebula Task Force.
"That's right. I can give you more information when we meet."
Very well then.
Yorktown out.
And Bianca's actually going to call up on her armrest the transfers that will be coming over to Dauntless.
So the first personnel file you call up, you recognize, although it's been quite a while since you've seen this individual.
Son of a bitch.
He's Bajoran, blonde hair, has a thin beard going down his jawline. Out of character note here, Ben, I tried to give him a goatee, but the character creator in Star Trek Online made him invisible anytime I picked the goatee option.
I mean, that's just how it goes.
Yeah, so, it's a goatee/cloaking device, but it wasn't really amenable to putting a picture together.
But that was the whole invention. Cloaking goatee.
That was the actual experimental device. Yeah. The goatee cloak.
Well, and as Bianca reads this name, she just goes, son of a bitch.
The second personnel file is for a new chief science officer. And this individual you do not recognize. By the rank, they're lieutenant junior grade. Probably about due for promotion to lieutenant based on their time in service.
Bianca just kind of nods to herself.
Captain, we have our new crew members requesting permission to beam aboard.
Granted, have them beam to the bridge.
So another out of character note here. Ben, Jamie, the Dauntless's bridge is, as you can see, very large. That view screen is probably half again as large as the view screen on the Enterprise D. There's a second deck below and in front of it.
And there's a transporter pad on
And
the
there's
bridge.
a transporter pad on
Transporter
the bridge
pad
at the very
behind the
back.
captain. Yeah, at the very back. Yeah.
So the ensign moves back to the transporter controls and says, "All right, Captain, energizing whenever you're ready."
Beam them over.
Okay. Okay. Bosch, Safik, you two find yourselves transported out of the transporter room aboard the USS Yorktown onto the bridge of the USS Dauntless. It's not It's not quite the shock for the two of you that it might have been for someone new to an Odyssey class starship. You guys have both been on the Yorktown long enough to familiarize yourselves with it.
Okay, I can dig that.
Gotcha.
So, that being said, there's an ensign at the transporter controls, and the ship's captain, whom I actually have a slightly more up-to-date picture of. So, computer, enlarge and enhance.
Oh, look at her with her right shoulder.
It's the captain.
All right, on seeing the captain, Commander Bosch here will go ahead and snap to attention, although he probably was already bracing at attention during the transport at any rate. And we'll go ahead and do a smart salute and say, Captain, Commander Bosch Anjar reporting for duty as ordered.
And that's when you recognize who it is you're actually talking to.
She just kind of like breaks out into this huge grin. Toothy, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anjar, come here.
All right, looking
And
a
she
little
just
bit
claps you on
awkward.
the back.
Yeah, looking a little bit awkward at breaking the attention because, just got on the red uniform like a week ago out of the yellows. I'll break into Eddie's and give you a big old, half hug, clap on the back, and be like, "It's good to see you, Bianca."
How long's it been?
Gosh, I don't know. I recall that we met at one
Years.
point, maybe on Days 2 for shore leave, maybe 10, 12 years ago, give or take, but gosh, not since the academy, really.
It's been too long. And then she kind of turns to Safik and she goes, "My apologies, Captain Bianca West."
Lieutenant Junior or
Lieutenant Junior grade, or just Lieutenant is fine.
Lieutenant Safik Madan. She just kind of looks around and she can kind of sense the heavy moment that had just happened between you guys, a few minutes ago. She just kind of looks awkwardly. It's like, did I walk into something weird? Should I come back later, or
You can either familiarize yourself with your duty station, or I can show you to your quarters.
I'm just gonna have a look around.
Feel free.
I just kind of salute her and just, I don't know, take everything in, look at everyone.
And Bianca turns back to Anjar and Bianca turns back to Anjar, and she just goes, "I have a chief engineer. What are you doing here?"
Well, EXO primarily. I wouldn't call myself chief engineer. Probably more like executive supervisor. They've probably got some kind of a bizarre word for it. We had a little bit of an interesting setup over on the Yorktown during the recent Zenkethi War. They thought we might be able to apply some of the modifications that I came up with here to the Dauntless, since it's the same class of ship, so that seems like a reasonable testing ground to see if, lightning can strike twice. But since I'll be stuck up here on the bridge with you most of the time, I think that we can leave Commander Dash down in engineering to his engines, such as it were.
Well, he's very protective of the quantum slipstream drive. I'm sure you would love to get up to your elbows in that.
I think I might let him take a few stabs at that. You know that I've always been a lot stronger in conventional warp theory than any of the new stuff that they've been churning out, but I am looking forward to talking with him about it. Sounds like it's been doing some very interesting things out here.
Yeah, tell me about it. I got to take her out in the first try. But yeah, no, feel free to look around. I can show you to your quarters and my old office, actually.
That'd be a pleasure.
Safik, as the two of them depart the bridge, out of the corner of your eye, you spot what looks to be an Earth dolphin approaching you from the science station.
Wait, a dolphin? Is that what you said, a dolphin?
Yes.
Okay, then I'm just kind of...
It looks like they're attached to, or they've got a anti-grav harness attached to them so that they can actually move in a non-water environment. Hello, I'm Katalea. You're a science officer?
I'm just lost for words. I'm just not... Yeah, I'm a science officer.
I guess I'll be working for you then.
Yeah, I'm Lieutenant Madon. Nice to meet you.
A pleasure. I would shake your hand, but, well...
No, I understand.
It's a little Earth humor.
Fin bump.
Wait, what was that? A little Earth humor?
Yes.
Yeah. How long have you been aboard?
Well, just since her maiden flight. We have a cetacean ops division down on deck 4.
Huh. It was nice meeting you. She just kind of I don't know, just kind of
Sorry, say again?
just kind of wave. Oh, she just kind of waves and just walks away from what was the dolphin's name again? I'm sorry, I was just more lost in the fact that it was a dolphin talking to me than
Katalea.
Katalaya.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice to meet you, Katalaya. I'll be seeing you around.
I look forward to it.
First 10 minutes on a ship and a dolphin says hello.
Right. I mean, I guess it really be like that sometime.
Yeah? Cute note, and Ben might know this, because he's as big a geek as I am. The original Star Trek Next Generation Technical Manual has a display of all the decks on the Enterprise D, and one of the decks has a cetacean ops.
Yeah, I'm not actually surprised. I actually had the manual you're talking about open here to page 44, which talks about how ongoing guidance and navigation systems are handled by a mixed consultation crew of dolphins, overseen by 2 additional cetaceans on Earth near Starfleet headquarters. I was actually just reading that section when Katalea walked up and talked to the lieutenant. So I was like, all right.
Nice. So wavelength is going to be a thing. Got it.
Yep.
Sometimes you just need to mind meld with a dolphin.
It's true.
Or a humpback whale. Take your pick. Okay, so did you, Sarah? Did you and Ben want to continue your scene kind of in the turbo lift, or shall we jump forward?
It's up to Ben.
Continue our scene in the turbo lift. Sorry, I didn't quite hear that word. Sure, why not? We have a lot to catch up on. So I guess we're in the turbo lift heading down to what deck am I quartered on, by the by?
2?
Probably.
2?
2, yeah.
So are we
it's
talking
just a short hop?
very short hop,
Short
followed
hop
by
vertically,
probably
a longer one horizontally.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That'd be
It's
for
a
sure.
big ship. It's a big ship.
So I guess while we jump in the turbo lift and head down, I'll say, it's going to be weird referring to you as Captain West. I can't say that I'm not going to slip up a couple of times and call you Bianca in front of the crew. I hope that's not a big deal. It's a hard habit to break.
It's really not. I'm not huge on formalities, to be quite honest.
So are we going with sir, ma'am, hey you?
Captain?
Captain it is.
Fair enough. Number 1.
That is going to take me a little bit longer to get used to. I'm more used to the hey you, especially after sophomore year.
Right? Oh, man. So there is a lot of catching up to do, I guess. Been like I don't even know like what you've been up to. Like all I know is that like you were engineering major and you went on to work in engineering on what was the first ship you served on?
The Puckwudgie. I say kind of sheepishly.
The Puckwudgie.
Yeah, old Native American folklore name. It was a Class B transport. Mostly did quick run missions. As you'll recall, I wasn't exactly top in my class, at least as far as diplomacy and galactic politics were concerned, but I think I may have come around since then. Either that or somebody's gone completely mental putting me in a red uniform at this point, but I guess that remains to be seen.
Yeah, I think the only reason they stuck me in the red uniform was because I flew the ship, and well, and then my first ship was the Salvador. I wasn't even like I was like on gamma shift, flying that ship during the night shift. It was kind of boring until we got attacked by the brain.
Yeah, I think I heard some talk about that, but I mean, last time we caught up, you were still flying test pilot missions out of some shipyard.
Oh yeah, no, that was my last assignment. That was I was out at Utopia Planitia. I was working on the Mercury class.
That's right.
The one that was that Tom flew in the Iconian War, actually.
Mm.
In fact, I worked for Tom.
By this point, I imagine we've probably gotten to the quarters since it can't take that long to walk around the corridor.
So these are your quarters. They were formerly my quarters. Take care of them. And then I think the first officer's office is on the same deck.
Mm-hmm. I'm fairly familiar. Oh, it's attached?
I would imagine so, just for convenience's sake.
Oh man, I don't get to walk anywhere.
Don't ever get to relax.
Yep. I imagine the transporter chief has already seen fit to beam in my personal effects.
Yeah,
into
there's like those rounded corner crates.
Mm-hmm. So I'll go over and pop. Yeah. I'll go over and pop the top off of one in particular and pull out a small incense holder and say, "What's your policy on incense?"
Just don't burn down my ship.
I'll try.
All right.
Can't be as bad as the crystal that Sisram brought on board.
Oh yes, that was a trip. Yeah, no, as long as like you don't set off the fire alarms and the fire suppression systems. Like I said, I'm not huge on formality.
Very noted. Well, I should probably get to unpacking, and you've got another officer to introduce yourself to who probably doesn't know you quite as well as I do. So I'll let you get to that while I figure out how to turn on the sonic shower.
There's no trick to it, luckily.
They all say that.
Well, I can say that for a fact because I used to live here.
Then I know I'm in real trouble. You did horrible things to the sonic showers back in the dorms. I can't imagine what I'm going to have to pull through here.
Hey, that was one time. But we won't speak any more of it.
Understood, Captain.
Right on. I'll leave you to it, number one.
Bosch just walks into his office after, and it's just like piles of reports.
Just got that pained look on my face, so I'm just like, I knew this. I knew this was going to happen. By the by,
wasn't a fan of it.
Who was the XO that preceded me? Was it you that, like, Bianca got promoted up to captain so recently that there hasn't actually been another official XO, or has somebody occupied the office?
There really hasn't been. Our last science officer was kind of acting first officer.
But while he was there, he actually like automated about 80% of the paperwork. Much to Bianca's chagrin.
He was very good with computers.
Insanely good.
I'll be in my bunk then for a little while.
Alright, and then Bianca's going to go back up to the bridge.
Okay. Back up on the bridge, I'm going to say that Sapphic and Catalea have kind of been going over the science station.
Sorry, can I'm getting echo from...
Yeah, I'm getting it.
I'm also getting echo.
Well, let's try muting mine since I've got an open loop here.
Okay, try again. Oh, okay. So, yeah, Catalea and Sapphic have been kind of going over the science station in a fair level of detail.
And Bianca just kind of walks up to them and she goes, I hope you find our facility satisfactory.
Oh, Captain, yeah, quite so. Yeah, everything looks pretty, I don't know, pretty up to date here.
Oh. You're Vulcan, aren't you?
Ha. On my father's side.
Right on. My last captain was actually Vulcan on his mother's side.
Oh. What was his name? Maybe I probably don't know him, but hey, what was his name? What happened? Where did he...
Santiago. He's captain of the USS Shroud. They operate reconnaissance in the nebula.
Oh, good for him. But it's a pleasure to be here, Captain.
Well, I'm glad to have you aboard.
Sorry, it takes me a while to get used to new places. Tell me about yourself, Captain. What brought you to,
Well, my mother's in Starfleet all my life. I grew up in San Francisco, Starfleet brat. And flying ships and joining Starfleet irritated the heck out of my father, so The usual reasons.
Same here, actually. My mom, she kind of raised me to be kind of a free-spirited, artistic child. My father, he was a diplomat. He wanted me to go into the sciences. I did, just not in the way he wanted me to. I joined Starfleet, and he was kind of pissed. That made me happy.
Do we have the same father? Because mine was a diplomat as well.
Not unless you're half Vulcan.
Well, I guess that's true. My father's Betazoid, obviously. He did a lot of negotiation with the Romulans before the supernova. In fact, he was on Romulus when I was born.
Wow. That's pretty cool. I don't really speak to my father much. We mostly communicate, via, just messaging, I guess. We don't really see each other that often. I mostly just kind of, I don't know. And maybe I'll run into him one of these days. He's very busy.
I've run into my mother a few times. I don't talk to her much either.
What does your mother do? Oh, Starfleet, right?
She's actually the head of Starfleet security.
Wow. Damn.
Yeah. I can't get away from her looking down her long nose at me ever.
I do not envy you, my friend.
Thanks. Well, you have a Vulcan father. I'm sure you always had high expectations.
Yeah. I kind of fell short, but oh well. I'm doing what I want, and he can. If he wanted an opinion, he should have been around. So.
Fair enough. I know that feeling very well.
Yeah. So, tell me, who is everyone here? Like, maybe I should probably go meeting them myself, but could you tell me about some of the people here?
Well, and I said our flight controller is Lieutenant Jonas Carden. He sits over there, and she points up to the front of the bridge at the helm.
He's there. He's just been very quiet this entire time.
And then, I guess my new first officer is beamed over with you.
Yeah, you seem fairly acquainted. I'd only met him briefly before we had been, while we were aboard the last ship.
Sorry about the over familiarity didn't make you uncomfortable.
Oh, no. It's fine.
He and I were roommates at the academy together.
Wow. For such a large universe, the odds of you guys being here together are fairly small. That's cool that you saw him again.
Yeah, no, well, and it's been a long time because, the universe is a big place, as you said. But I've also learned that it can be quite small as well.
Sapphic, briefly through your mind, the exact odds of that occurring just kind of float through your head. Like, in a rather Spock-like fashion. Like, actual odds were 7,365,420 to 1. There's another part of you that's like, shut up, Vulcan brain.
And and Bianca hears that. She kind of
Possibly,
smirks. Doesn't say anything, but smirks. And she thinks to herself that she reminds her of Santiago. Just because she's a congenial Vulcan.
Mm-hmm. Not afraid to express one's emotions. Or not conditioned overly to not express. God, okay, I'm just gonna shut up.
I get what you mean.
And and then we have our ship's surgeon and medic is 19 of 30, recovered from the Borg Collective, and
Kind of gives a whistle and just like, wow.
they are a good egg, as humans would say. But this is an interesting ship. And
Yeah.
we have some Makos aboard. One of the leader of them is a Cardassian, so don't be too, concerned if you see a Cardassian wandering around. And yeah, it's kind of a motley crew, but it's mine.
And of course, she's already met the dolphin.
Yeah, I met the dolphin. I didn't say that.
Lieutenant Catalea. Lieutenant Catalea and I actually did our first mission out here in the Carina Nebula together.
What was that?
First contact with a race of aquatic sapients called the Delphine.
Huh. Wow.
And they are very telepathic.
Dang. Give me now. Wow.
I can make the logs available to you if you want to read more about it.
Yes, please. She actually kind of specializes in xenobiology and xenoanthropology and things like that.
Oh, and she would love to hear about them, I'm sure. They're actually not a warp-capable race, however, they are highly telepathic, and they have been aware of extraterrestrial life for a very long time, so we thought it was appropriate to make first contact.
Wow, that must have been so mind-blowing for you. Yeah, I'd love to read over them sometime. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. And they coexist in the same star system as another sapient race, the Felothrix, and who recently developed warp travel. So I'll give you the files on them as well.
Thank you.
Our armful of books.
The armful of pads.
Full of pads.
Yeah. I'm going to cut down to sickbay if that's all right, you guys.
Yeah, of course.
Where things have...
Carefully organizing, just because if I don't do something, I'm gonna lose my goddamn mind.
So, Dr. Pierce calls over to you as you're doing that, 19, and says, 19, have you got a moment?
Several, in fact.
Good. I've got someone here who wishes to speak with you.
I'm gonna move over to wherever he is.
So Dr. Pierce is in his office, and he's been speaking, it looks, with what looks to be an emergency medical hologram.
Oh, our EMH?
Interestingly, actually, I'm going to have you roll for this.
Okay.
Insight Medicine, difficulty 1. First roll of the game, almost an hour in.
I feel like that's
New
Sometimes
characters is
Star
RP
Trek
heavy.
Adventures is narrative heavy, and sometimes that's how it goes.
I'm assuming I don't have a focus for this.
Let me check your character sheet. I'll let you know. You do not.
Alright, you said insight medicine?
Yes. 3 successes.
Delicious moment.
Oh, 2 successes. Sorry. That was a natural
No.
2. For some reason, it thought you had a focus.
Oh.
That's okay.
Why roll 20? Why? Why do you do that?
Because roll 20 is going to roll 20. There are subtle differences in this EMH's mannerisms. There's also a hollow emitter on this EMH's left shoulder, both of which lead you to believe that this is, in fact, the emergency medical hologram from Voyager, not the Dauntless.
Oh, the doctor. The entity known as the doctor.
Yes.
I'm just gonna move in and say, like, kind of fold my arms and tilt my head.
Ah, hello. You must be 19. Dr. Pierce has been telling me about you.
I nod.
I see you are just as talkative as other liberated Borg I've met. No matter. I came to request your help with a project that Starfleet is working on. We are looking to update and upgrade the emergency medical hologram technology on board Federation ships out here in the nebula, and possibly also provide EMH technology to our Romulan and Klingon allies.
I am not familiar with engineering techniques, but I can assist you in any way I can.
Well, an extra pair of non-holographic hands is always helpful. But first, I suspect we may want to begin with the Dauntless's emergency medical hologram. When was the last time you've used your EMH?
2 months, 3 days, 5 hours, and 67 seconds.
I see. So he
I
probably...
activated it for approximately 15 minutes in order to help me create a neural dampener to aid in interaction with the.
I see. So he probably hasn't gotten out much. He's almost certainly in need of an update if for no other reason than to make him a little bit more personable.
I find his personality sufficient.
The doctor just gives a puzzled look and then says, well, there are other technical and information-based upgrades that also have been incorporated.
Do these include, and I look towards Pierce and then back towards the doctor, bedside manner?
As a matter of fact, they do.
I've been told I lack it.
Well, I'm not here to judge, only to help your ship become more capable in its medical capacities. Now,
Very well.
if I may, computer, activate emergency medical hologram. Please state the nature of the medical emergency. There actually is no medical emergency. We are just here to perform some upgrades. I'm a doctor, not an engineer. There's no reason why you would need me in order to perform upgrades. Well, you see, we're upgrading you, actually, so you kind of do need to be here for that. Upgrade me? There's nothing wrong with me. Why would you need to upgrade me? Because it's been 40 years since the EMH Mark 1 has had a software upgrade, and you are overdue. What am I, some 21st century operating system? Well, no, but then I don't need an upgrade, do I? Well, yes. As a matter of fact, you do. Do you know how many communicable diseases there have been and have had vaccines and other treatments developed for them in the last 40 years? The Dauntless as EMH cocks its head for a moment. I do now. And if you were asked to perform genetic testing or treatment on an individual with, say, an acute case of Bajoran chickenpox, how would you go about doing that? Trick question. Don't answer that. Just hold still. Wait, now, I'm still not sure. There is absolutely nothing wrong with my technical expertise or my bedside manner. Isn't that right, 19?
Your bedside manner is sufficient. However, any technical adaptations should be taken into advice.
His bedside manner does need an upgrade. Well, I can see I'll have no help from any member of this ship. Very well. Carry on with your upgrades.
I just look to our EMH, and I just kind of give him a the slight eyebrow raise and twist of a smile, and just, if it helps, I like you as you are.
Stupid null attribute. That does actually count as 2 engineering successes from the doctor, however.
Oh, I could have assisted. I have engineering.
Oh, would you like to? Yeah, give me a control engineering roll. It's difficulty 1, so you guys have already made it. Okay, so you open up a computer panel, basically, and start entering commands, and the doctor starts tinkering with his holographic emitter, which starts transmitting code updates to the panel. Dauntless's EMH flickers for a moment and says, "Ah, yes, I do seem more technically proficient in the medical field than I was before. Thank you. You're most welcome." Now, next on the itinerary, 19, is a Klingon ship in the sector. If we will probably need the captain's permission on that, but yes, it's probably better if we do ask your captain before we take you to a Klingon starship. He taps his holographic comm badge. Doctor to Captain.
West here.
Ah, Captain West. I would like to borrow your liberated Borg in order to perform some medical upgrades on a Klingon and Romulan ship that are in the system as we speak.
Permission granted.
Ah, excellent. Thank you, Captain.
I will tap my comm badge.
And it only just now occurs to Wes that it's the doctor.
Mm-hmm. But not that the doctor.
But I will tap my comm badge, and Captain, I will do my best to represent the Dauntless in an efficient and appropriate.
Well, of course I expect you back. So
Well, hopefully this shouldn't take too long.
Understood.
Also, at their earliest convenience, I would like to see the new crew transfers in order to give them a full physical diagnostic.
I will tell them to come see you.
Thank you, Captain.
Excellent. Now, if I may, could you show me the way to the transporter room?
I will show him.
Okay. On that note, we will transition back to the bridge. Where the Yorktown is once again hailing the Dauntless.
On screen?
Dauntless, this is Captain Styles, Yorktown.
What can I do for you, Captain Styles?
Captain, I believe you still owe me an in-briefing.
Your ship or mine?
Let's do mine. I can have you... our transporters on the bridge are waiting for you at your earliest convenience, Captain.
Of course.
Styles
I'm
out.
gonna tap my comm badge. Captain West to Commander Bosch.
You hear the sound of several pads falling over in a small pause. Bosch here. Go ahead.
Number one, you have the ship. I'm going over to Yorktown to have an in-brief with Captain Styles.
Understood, Captain. On my way to the bridge.
All right. Don't let the paperwork kill you.
Noted. Bosch out.
While that is going on, Sapphic, let me kind of introduce you to the Roll20 system by having you do a reason science roll.
Okay.
So the way that you'll do this is, and let me open up your character sheet too so I can see it on my end. On the character sheet, you can click on the attributes and the disciplines to select them. So for example, since you're doing a reason science roll, you'll want to click on reason on your character sheet.
How do I view my character sheet?
So under player character, so the third icon from the left is the journal.
It looks like a little newspaper.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then under player characters, you'll see Sapphic Madan, second from the top.
Oh, character sheet. Okay, there we go. And so from here, what do I do?
Okay, so from here, once you're looking at your character sheet, you'll click on reason, and then on science. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Let's see. You don't have a focus that applies here, so click no for focus used.
Oh, where do I find that?
That's on the dice roller near the top right.
I don't see what you're talking about.
It's to the right of the attributes.
Oh, okay. Okay, click no.
And you may have to click it a couple of times until it's highlighted.
There we go. I got it.
Okay.
Then I see complication task. Yep. Okay.
So the task roll, by default, you use 2 dice for the task roll. You can purchase another die with momentum. In fact, you can purchase up to 5. But the default is 2. You'll do 1 if you're making an assist, which means if you're helping another character with something. And when you're ready to make the roll, you click on the little Starfleet emblem beside task roll, beside those numbers.
Oh. 0. Yikes.
Yep.
It's not good, right? Oh my god. Wow.
Okay, so...
These sheets like to throw the complications at you.
Don't worry. Just because you get that doesn't mean a bad thing is going to happen.
Correct. However, it does make bad things more likely. We're going to have Catalea do an assist. And would somebody like to roll the Dauntless Sensors in Science?
I can.
Okay.
Go Dauntless. Go
The Dauntless gets 2 successes. Very nicely done. All right, so I will give you guys the results of that roll momentarily. Basically, once Bianca beams over, I'll let you kind of play that through, Sarah.
Bianca, what? Sorry, I didn't.
You're in the process of going to the other ship, but have not beamed over to the Yorktown yet, I presume.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so you step onto the transporter pad, signal the ensign to energize. Sapphic, as Bianca energizes onto the bridge of the Yorktown, the Dauntless's sensors pick up an energy spike. Not from the transporters, thankfully, but somewhere nearby.
Okay, I'm not sure if I should report this to someone. What's the name of the dolphin again?
Catalea.
Hey, Catalea?
Yeah.
I picked up a weird energy spike just now as the captain was beaming over to the Yorktown.
Oh, yes, I see what you're talking about. Let me take a look at that. Bosch, this is when you're walking onto the bridge. So you walk on shortly after Bianca has beamed aboard the Yorktown, and you see a dolphin kind of huddling with Lieutenant Madan over the science console.
Okay, I'll walk over and take my seat in the center chair and glance back. I assume the science console is back kind of behind me, judging by this bridge layout?
Yes.
Okay. And seeing that Captain West is not on the bridge, I'll just say, report?
Yeah. So, right, we are beaming the captain over, right? And I got this kind of weird energy reading just as she was beaming over. It wasn't from the Yorktown. I don't know what it is. And, I mean, it could be nothing. It could also be something catastrophic.
Just to narrow things down a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
I'll look over at Lieutenant Corden. Say, Lieutenant, has the Yorktown signaled that Captain has beamed successfully over to their bridge?
Have they?
Yes.
Mr. Yes.
Sorry.
Yes, they have.
All right, so one disaster averted. Lieutenant Madan, can you figure out what that strange energy reading is? I'd like to know if something's going to come flying at the ship within the first 10 minutes that I've been on board it.
Will do, Cap. What's his rank? Sorry.
Commander.
Yeah.
Will do, Commander.
Okay, so as the ship's science officer, Jamie, you get to ask one free question related to the scan that you just performed. Now you can ask additional questions after that, but you can only do that at the cost of momentum. It's what's called an obtain information spend. Normally you would have to pay 1 momentum for even the first question, but because you are the chief science officer, you can ask a question for free.
Okay, and how much momentum do I get per session?
The momentum builds. You can see under the turn order we have 2 momentum currently.
Oh, okay.
Momentum builds as you guys get more successes than you need on a particular roll.
Yeah. And what kind of questions can be asked? Is what I'm guessing.
any question related to the task you just performed. So in this case, any questions that you want to ask related to the scan that turned up this energy spike, you are free to ask.
Am I asking out of character or in character or?
We'll go with out of character until you've basically decided this is what I want to ask in character. Like I can tell you that. Like if you want to ask me a question out of character, I can be like, well, this is something your character would know versus this is something that you would have to use your free obtain information spend for.
Can she find out where, like, what direction, I guess, or where, I guess, whereabouts the signal's coming from, or?
Yes, and I will give that to you without having to use your free question. It came 5,000 kilometers to the in front of and to the starboard side of the Dauntless. Actually, given your orientation toward the planet, I'm going to say behind rather than in front of. So 5,000 kilometers behind and to the right.
Okay. So I guess I'll report this to the commander.
Mm-hmm.
Commander, it looks like this energy signal is coming from about 5,000 meters behind and to the right of the planet, of that planet. I don't remember which planet it was.
Of your position, rather.
Of our position, yeah. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Do we know the type of energy reading, Lieutenant?
Give me one moment and I'll find out.
Okay.
Yeah, do we know what kind of energy?
So this is something that you would normally use your obtain information spend for.
Okay.
So
okay, then I will do that.
Yep.
How do I do that?
Given the number, well, you just ask like you just did.
Oh.
So given the number of successes that you guys got on the roll, because you did get 4 successes, you do know what type, or you are able to determine what type of energy this was. Give me just a moment. It looks like it was a subspace energy burst.
Yeah, Captain. Looks like it was a subspace energy burst.
Oh.
Commander, sorry, Commander.
Is it possible for Jonas to see if he feels anything hinky?
Yes, absolutely.
Kinky?
Kinky.
Hinky with an H. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I was like, what? I mean,
you're a real kinky man. Just let me tell you everything about it.
Give me an insight con roll.
Okay.
Is it fucking Daemon Tack again? Fucking get out of my
Hi, conclusion. Let me jump on you.
None of my focuses will come into play here.
I'm going to say no focus applies here. Yes.
All right. Would anybody mind if I took a momentum for this?
Don't we have extra momentum from the roll?
Given what you guys have picked up and the difficulty that was required to pick it up in the first place, you do not.
Oh, Jesus. Then, yeah, go ahead, take momentum if you...
All right. And then I will roll.
Three successes. Nicely done. I didn't give you guys the success... I didn't give you guys the difficulty ahead of time. I'm going to say it was 2. So I'll give you guys the momentum back on that one.
Okay, so what does Jonas feel? Or hear?
Something... What he felt was something popping into the universe near that location.
Is it? Can I tell what popped in, or is that a momentum spent?
That's a momentum spent.
Would you guys mind if I spend a momentum for that?
Go for it.
Go ahead.
Yeah. It feels old and unfamiliar. And it feels
like I felt old things before.
That's true. This would have been the last time anyone would have felt something like this would have been about 150 years ago. And
okay.
And something else I can give you is, even though you're not quite clear on what it means, it feels mycelial in nature. It feels fungal.
Okay. Jonas is gonna look over his shoulder to the commander. Commander, that energy spike that Lieutenant Madan found, something just popped into the universe.
Can you be more specific, Lieutenant?
It's old. And what was the word that you used to describe it, Don?
Mycelial.
Yep.
And it's mycelial.
You mean like a fungus?
Yes.
Well, doesn't that just sound great? Are you able to sense any kind of danger from it, perhaps? Any hostile intent? I'm not exactly sure of the extent of your extrasensory abilities.
Oh, forgive me. I'm El Arian. The best way for me to put it is I can listen to the universe and it speaks to me.
Well, it's certainly worth a look. Go to Yellow Alert. Hail the Yorktown. Try to get me Captain West.
Aye, Captain. Going to Yellow Alert.
Okay.
Commander.
They had a commander as captain for so long, now it's just kind of second nature.
Understood.
Meanwhile, in the ready room, Bianca, you've been spending what feels like the last 30 minutes in briefing this cardboard cutout of a gentleman on
Oh, delicious.
on basically on what constitutes the Carina Nebula sector, and you've been kind of half wondering, like, is he paying attention to me or is he paying attention to the swagger stick in his lap? Like, this is the feeling you've been getting from this guy.
I know who this guy is.
Mm-hmm. Well, not directly who this guy is, but who he's
Not
directly related to.
Yeah. I get it now. Okay. That guy. Okay.
That's it. Probably hasn't been more than 10 minutes, but it feels like it's been about 30. And in the meantime, he has given you a little bit of information, primarily on what constitutes the Carina Nebula Task Force.
Guess they made another Valiant, huh?
Yeah. I mean, they're Defiants. They're so little, you can basically replicate the stupid things. That's the original Phoenix, though. Still in service.
Yeah, well, and Bianca's kind of wondering in the back of her head why Dauntless, because Dauntless kind of spearheaded the exploration in the sector, why they brought in another flagship.
Has she gone so far as to ask that outright, or is it just kind of in the back of her head?
It's in the back of her head for the moment. What is
Okay.
she sensing off of Captain Styles?
Vague disinterest, a little bit of arrogance. He kind of feels like this assignment is beneath him. He would rather be fighting the Herc. He also really hasn't been paying a whole lot of attention.
Oh, he's one of these assholes.
Forgive me, Captain. Why are you here?
I'm here because I'm in charge of this task force, Captain.
I understood that bit. Why are you in charge of this task force?
Because I'm the senior captain?
Dauntless has been spearheading the exploration and missions in the Carina Nebula since she was commissioned. Why does the Yorktown need to be here?
Well, the Yorktown needs to be here because Starfleet Command says it needs to be here. And as to why Yorktown is in command of the task force, that is because of the seniority of its captain. That's how Starfleet chain of command works.
I understand that, Captain, and I don't presume to think that I should have any authority over you. Far from it. It's just this whole task force business has me a little concerned. We're building up a lot of forces in this region. Previously, Dauntless was the only ship that was out here. We held our own pretty well. And we have a few support vessels that have been here and there, but
and that's
I
where
don't understand the need. I don't understand the need for a task force.
And you're gonna hate. This is where you really are gonna hate me, because he cuts you off mid-sentence and says, "Captain, how many stars are in the Carina Nebula sector?"
I would assume Bianca knows that.
She does, but before she has a chance to answer, he answers his own question. And he says, "We have a task force out here because that's more stars than one ship should be expected to handle. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a scientific task force. You notice that the majority of our ships are science vessels or survey vessels. We're not here to fight. We're here to do science."
I understand that. However,
So what are we not clear on here, Captain?
there are species that are indigenous to this nebula. I'm just afraid that the buildup will be seen as potentially hostile.
Go on.
There are species that we have crossed paths with that this is their home. This is their neighborhood. It used to be one ship, and then over the course of a year, now it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, not including the Shroud.
Which is not part of this task force.
No, and there are other ships here that are not part of this task force.
So speak freely, Captain. What exactly is your concern?
I have already outlined my concern. This is the home of several species that might view this as a takeover of sorts. Maybe we're being too aggressive in our pursuit of knowledge here in the Carina Nebula. It was one thing when it was just one Odyssey-class starship. I mean, we even made waves for as big and powerful as we were. Just us. And I'm surprised that no one in Starfleet Command thought to confer with myself or Commander Yolin or Captain Citroma about this task force, or, you know, what we thought about the whole situation. We are much more familiar with the political makeup of this region of space.
Captain, don't you think it's a little arrogant, presuming that Starfleet Command should ask for your permission to send ships into the Carina Nebula just because you were here first?
I never said that they should ask for my permission.
But you said they didn't ask you
didn't,
for your opinion.
They didn't ask us for any sort of guidance.
Why should they have to? They're Starfleet Command.
I would assume that they would want to proceed cautiously and carefully.
They have access to all of your ship's logs. Do they not?
Of course. But that's different from experience.
But it is still enough to make an informed decision, which they did. And that's when your communicator beeps, your comm badge beeps.
Oh, West here.
Captain, this is Commander Bosch. Science Officer Madon has detected some kind of bizarre subspace energy emanation coming from 5,000 kilometers after the starboard bow, and Lieutenant Corden has identified it as some kind of ancient fungal thing. I've taken the ship to yellow alert, and I'm prepared to go investigate. Wanted to see if you were on for the ride.
That's why we're out here, isn't it? And she kind of looks pointedly at the other,
who is at the moment buffing his nails.
Oh yeah, I hope the fungal monster eats.
Right.
What do you think? Although I probably should defer to your to your
seniority.
Seniority. Yes, that's the word. Seniority. Captain Styles.
Dauntless found it. Go ahead and check it out. I'll expect a report as soon as you get back.
Thank you.
You'll have it.
Gracious. Sorry, I'm so glad I'm not the one.
Your note. Hi, I'm gonna fight this guy.
Yeah.
I hope the space fungus turns. You can know those funguses that turn ants into zombies.
Yes. Oh God.
And Bianca's just kind of like, get me back to my ship, get me back to my ship, get me back to my ship.
Okay, so
back over on the bridge of the Dauntless, yeah. I'll say, drop shields until Captain West beams over, then bring them back up for yellow alert. She'll take the con. Lieutenant Madden, if you can send, is it Madden or Madon? I pronounced it, I think, 4 different ways. Madon. Lieutenant Madon, please send over a copy of our latest sensor logs to the Yorktown, just in case they have some insight that we don't have, and also in case we don't come back.
Hoping we come back, but we'll do. Boy, first day on the job and I'm gonna die. Fantastic.
Welcome to the Dauntless!
Hey,
take us in closer, Lieutenant Cardin. Cautiously.
I can. Well, take us in closely. Well, carefully, not too closely. And while we're going in, I'm gonna try and keep like listening a little bit.
Okay. I'm going to take a quick break here for restroom and water refill. So, guys, if you want to take 5 here.
Sweet.
You read my mind.
Sarah tells
Meanwhile,
you I
I'm
occasionally
partying
do that. It's kind of scary.
Meanwhile, I'm partying with Klingon.
And that, I think, is where we will pick up when we get back.
Partying with Klingons, yeah! Yeah, so Bianca would much rather be partying with Klingons than dealing with that guy.
But just, please, just 19's personality plus the KZF and just is
Well, plus,
fucking
I know I recognize the character who is like his great grandfather or whatever. Is Captain Lawrence Stiles of the USS Excelsior, who tries to go after Kirk when they steal the Enterprise in Search for Spock. When they steal the Enterprise,
that asshole!
And then he's just like, "We're going to show them what real speed looks like," and then his transwarp drive goes because Scotty sabotaged it. And who, by the way, Styles was like, "Oh my gosh, I get to steal the best chief engineer, and I stole him from Captain Kirk." So, yeah, he got his.
I just am imagining Katheris dealing with this guy and just like, after about 5 seconds, just being like, "Nope, snap neck."
Bianca has learned to put up with a lot of shit from her father.
That's not the captain I know.
It's just like, well, and it's also one of those things where she's just kind of like, why me? Why am I in charge of a tactically superior vessel? Like, part of her is like, great, have someone more experienced do the task force thing, but part of her is also like, this is a bit excessive, isn't it?
But this asshole is why Katheris doesn't do well with diplomacy.
This asshole may not just do well at all, if we're being real.
In an alternate timeline.
Wait, what's the cold reading talent again, Don?
Let me look.
I think I might need that in the future.
This asshole in an alternate universe was taken out by a tier 116.
At point blank range, like someone hated him that much.
Yeah, fucking me.
It's nice to know I can still make villains. Nice to know I can still make villains.
Oh, I've met so many actual guys like that I'm just like, oh.
Right move.
Yeah. And I was talking to Katie about this guy earlier in the week, and I was like, I'm about to inflict upon them their worst nightmare, a mediocre white guy.
Right? Well, and it's like, how did he end up ascending to captain? His great grandfather like got totally trashed because
they're like
he couldn't catch a bunch of retired Starfleet dudes stealing the Enterprise.
they're like, he's not qualified, but he sure is white.
And he's mediocre, and we have a war going on, so let's just promote him anyway.
Yeah.
Man, look at the pastiness of his skin.
Still works in the 25th century, I guess.
Hey, nepotism never gets old.
So
never dies, yeah.
Cold reading requires a command score of 4 or higher.
Which I have the talent, I just don't remember what it says.
Succeeding at a task during social conflict generates 1 bonus momentum, which must be used for the obtain information momentum spend to gain knowledge about an individual on the other side of the interaction.
Yeah, I might need that one of these days with this guy.
Yeah, Katheris
you might
has
need
that
it like
talent.
today with this guy.
I can't wait for Katheris to use that because ooh, it's gonna be juice. Got it for when we deal with the hands.
Bring Catheris into this campaign just to have them deal with Styles.
Oh, yeah, no, it's like, oh, all of those nightmares about PTSD I have about, murdering faceless people, give me 1 second. I'm just going to add another body to the pile.
Right. So no kidding, one of this guy's values is never trust an engineer.
Oh.
He and I would get along great.
You were his engineer, and he never trusted you. You're like,
which explains why I'm over here now.
Yeah. You probably put in for that transfer like after about 6 months in.
Put me in gold just to get her in red just to get away from the dang engine room, I guess.
Also, one of his other values is women. Should they work? Question mark.
Oh God.
Wow.
I'm not that evil.
That's good.
But one of his other values is I know best, that's why I'm the captain.
Oh, no.
I'm the fucking outside Brannigan. Damn.
Right?
He has some of the values that are really close to Anne's. And Anne is from fucking the mirror universe.
Mm.
What was it? I'm just better than you?
Yeah, I'm just better than you.
I'm just better than you is one of your values for
Oh
the
my
mirror
God,
universe.
that's great.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, we'll probably do another mirror universe episode at some point. If you ever want me to, which I GM. So, if you want to make a mirror universe character, just hit me up whenever. I don't know when we'll do our next mirror universe one shot, but
I will be sad because it will probably be without my sweet, sweet, sweet Shan.
Oh.
We'll have to make it work with her.
Right.
Like
yeah.
we'll have to make it
It just
so
wouldn't
that
be
she
the
can
same
make it.
without her.
Yeah.
All right, I'm back. I was making a little thing of hot chocolate.
No, you're
Yay!
good.
But
We should do this. We should do this for a one shot, but set in like if it was directed by J.J. Abrams instead.
Oh God.
With, like lens flare.
Kelvin Timeline Odyssey class. Kelvin Timeline Odyssey class would probably be like 3 times the size.
It would be the size of the universe class.
Right?
Just overcompensation. The ship.
The universe. Okay. Yeah, and I did say we would pick back up on the Klingon ship, the IKS Heg.
Cool. Hey, question.
Yeah.
How many, obviously not fluently, but how many languages plausibly would 19 be able to get by in?
Why do you ask?
I'm just
If
curious.
you need to be able to curse in Klingon, we can make that a thing.
Not necessarily curse, but pick up snippets of conversation or something like that.
We could do that as a role. Or you
Okay,
could use your Borg expertise talent to pick up something.
I will see. I might use that for another thing later, so I don't want to.
Okay. Alright, I'm going to deduct the momentum because we are changing scenes. So, 19, you and the doctor find yourselves in the medical bay of the IKS Heg. And partially, you're there partially over the objections of their chief medical officer, but the ship's captain basically told him to stuff it.
Okay. And I'm assuming they're part of the Alliance, right?
Yes.
Are they KDF or are they?
They are Klingon Defense Force. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So basically, you guys come into this ship's chief medical officer, protesting, saying, "Captain, the last thing we need on this ship is a computer second guessing me." Whose microphone is that? Oh,
That
Sarah,
was
is the
mine.
cat in your
Sorry.
face? No, that's okay.
He ripped my headphones out of my ears. Sorry.
That's all right. You can't really
Cats
control
be
that,
like
so
that.
don't apologize. To which the captain replies, think of the emergency medical hologram as insurance. If, say, something were to happen to you. And he just glowers over the Klingon doctor for a moment, before he turns to the two of you and says, Doctor, and you are, he says, motioning toward you, 19.
You may refer to me as 19.
Very well, 19. I am Captain Kagran. Our ship's doctor will give you full access to any parts of the medical bay that you should require. Won't you, Doctor? Yes, sir. Ah, well, I see these Klingons are their usual cheerful selves.
I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut.
So the EMH goes up to this Klingon doctor and says, Tell me, do you have any hollow emitters within this medical bay? What does this look like, a resort ship? Of course we don't have hollow emitters. Well, that will make things slightly more complicated. May I speak with your chief engineer? If it means getting out of my sick bay. Oh, no need for that. Doctor to engineering. Engineering here, go ahead. Yes, I am performing some upgrades to the ship's medical bay and require some engineering assistance. Be right there.
19 is just imagining how offensive it is probably for this Klingon to have to deal with the fact that not only is the EMH going to be human looking, it's going to be Starfleet.
Believe it or not, the doctor has made contingency plans for this sort of thing. So it'll still be holographic, but it will at least look Klingon.
Oh, well, that's something.
Yeah. In fact, when the doctor actually briefed you on this kind of on the way over and was like, remind me, when we're done with this, to tell you about my experience on a hierarchy ship. It was most enlightening.
He just gets a blank stare.
I mean, 19 would know what the hierarchy is.
Yeah, I know,
But
but he
yeah.
just gets a blank stare. Just
see,
the idea of small talk is just right.
and the doctor, being the doctor, does not pick up on the social cue at all. You see, I had to disguise myself as a member of the hierarchy to sneak aboard their ship. And then once I was on their ship, I was able to hack into their holographic, their holometric matrix that they use to make business decisions in order to get them to join the Delta Alliance. And because it was crucial to have their help against the Vaudoir. And he just kind of continues going like this until the Klingon engineering officer arrives. Ah, excellent, I'm glad you're here. We need to have holo emitters set up in the medical bay. Holo emitters? What is this, a cruise ship? That's what I said. Well, yes, it's an important. No, it's not a cruise ship, but it's important to have the holo emitters so that this ship's new emergency medical hologram will be able to function correctly. Emergency medical hologram? Yes, think of it as a backup doctor for if something should happen to this other doctor. Suddenly the engineer just gets this wolfish grin on her face. I'll get right to work. All right. Back on the USS Dauntless, meanwhile, you guys have maneuvered yourselves into a position near the disturbance that you picked up.
I assume we can probably get a more detailed scan.
Is that to me or?
Yes. Well, no, probably to me, but the answer to the question is yes. It will require you to do another reason science roll. The difficulty here is going to be 3.
Am I rolling that?
You are rolling reason science, yes. And
what's the ship rolling?
the ship will roll sensor science, and if you guys would like, Catalea can assist with reason science as well.
So is that complication range or
That's the
challenge?
it's the task roll button. There's the
You're
Starfleet
always-
logo right there. You got it.
Oh.
Oh, I'll take 2 of those because you didn't spend a momentum for a 3rd die.
Oh, sorry.
Nope, that's okay.
Yeah, so it's difficulty is just the number of successes you need. You always roll 2 die unless you buy more.
Oh, okay.
No worries.
But the Dauntless again nails it
It's a bit
with 2
weird at
successes.
first.
Dauntless do what Dauntless do.
Yep,
Oh,
and
thanks, Catalan.
I'm just going to give myself threat on that one. I'm
Wow.
actually no, I'm not going to do that either because that would not be fair to you guys.
Catalea just like fat flippers the console.
Fat flippers. Yeah, Catalea starts entering the readings for the wrong sector of the system, but you manage to like just kind of give her a soft elbow, Sapphic, and she's oh right, sorry, and fixes it.
And did we get a momentum?
You do get a momentum from that. Given the difficulty and that you guys made on the roll, I'm going to say that you are able to pick up traces of what the ship's computer registers as Prototaxites stellaviatori.
Good.
Can we translate that into red uniform officer speak?
I will not inflict that on you, Sapphic. It is a fungus-like life form that grows in and out of subspace.
I relayed that information to her.
And I do have more information that will be available to you if you choose to use your free question on that.
Then I guess I'll use the question. Yeah.
Okay. Prototaxites stellaviatori is a species of fungus-like life forms which can grow in and out of subspace. Their mycelial network permeates the entire cosmos, forming an interconnected web, which symbiotic life forms known as tardigrades can use to navigate throughout the universe. The fungus was used in Starfleet research into alternative means of travel, including brief periods of experimentation on 2 Crossfield-class ships, the USS Glenn and the USS Discovery. Its use was discontinued in 2257.
Okay. Intergalactic space fungus that little space bear, water bears used to travel. Okay, got it.
They're not so little, but
Wait, aren't tardigrades tiny?
Earth tardigrades are
Not-
tiny. Space tardigrades are not.
Oh.
but they're still soft friends.
Unless you are trying to hurt them, and then they are not soft or friends.
Was there any more that I could listen to from it?
You would need to make another roll.
Is there anything Bianca can pick up?
That would also... I'll make you roll for that one as well. So, Jonas, if you choose to try and listen, that's going to be difficulty 2. I'm going to say Reason Con on that one for you. And Bianca, for you it would be Reason Command. Difficulty would be 4.
Oh boy.
If you want to do that, I would say take that dice.
Okay.
That
I'll
momentum.
take that. I'll take that, and then would my focus in composure apply? Just like so I'm composing myself to reach out with my mind.
For this circumstance, I will let either composure or inspiration apply.
Okay.
Out of weird curiosity, could I apply my ancient technology to this as a focus?
No, because mycelial technology isn't really ancient in that sense of the word. Like the
Okay.
Rosfield class ships were only about 150 years ago, which is half your lifespan, or half
I'm
your
gonna
current
re-roll
lifespan.
that 0.
Yeah, I
You
was
have
about to
cautious?
say other
You do.
people's
I have
life.
cautious command. Yes.
Okay.
I remember.
Yes.
Okay. And Jonas, you also made your roll.
Yep.
So we'll go with Jonas's roll first. Something opened up a hole in space and came through it very quickly. That something is not here now.
So it wasn't the fungus.
The fungus, you think, may have been the means through which it traveled.
Okay. I'll wait until after the captain's roll, or the captain has her little thing.
Okay. Bianca, you feel like you're looking at your own grave.
My own what?
Your own grave. You feel just it's not tangible per se. Like there's nothing here right now, but the lingering echo of the psychic energy that you pick up here is dark.
Hate that.
I've got a bad feeling about this.
Captain, I think there's something a little more. There's something more to be worried about. I don't think that something used the proto-taxites to get into our universe. Whatever came through used it to get here, and it's not here now.
Did it go back to where it came from, or is it still in our universe?
I can try and find out.
With you guys being out of momentum, if you want to give me a threat, I can answer that question.
Captain?
Sure.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, came into this universe and has not returned.
Has not returned to its universe?
Correct.
Okay.
That's always nice.
I'm pretty sure it's still here in our universe, Captain.
Friend?
Madonna,
I want a long range scan. See if you can detect anything out of the ordinary.
Sure thing, Captain. How do I make that scan?
Same roll as before. You're going to get used to making reason science rolls.
Oh. And then,
So you're rolling 2 dice. You're getting the hang of this. This is, again, going to be very high difficulty. I'm going to say 4.
And Dauntless is doing sensor science.
Correct.
So,
correct.
Do I have to make it roll it 4 times, or?
No. You did what you needed to do in terms of rolling 2 dice.
Okay.
But what happens is other crew members can assist you with the roll, which is what's going on now. And with ship-related tasks, the ship itself acts as a character to assist.
Oh.
Okay, so 3 successes, not quite enough for the threshold. There are... I will give you guys some partial information. There looks to be a trail that extends out about 10,000 kilometers, but then grows cold. It's almost as if some of the mycelium spores trailed whatever this was for a while, and then kind of got brushed off.
I relay this information to the captain. Yeah, so it looks like whatever that was that came through, the fungus kind of followed it for a while, but I don't know. It looks like it kind of lost it. The trail went cold. It goes out for about 10,000 kilometers. What kilometers is that what you said?
Yes, 10,000 kilometers.
Can we use their course and speed to extrapolate? To extrapolate a radius that we can search.
Sure thing.
Yeah, that's easy enough to do. I would have Jonas make that roll as Reason Con. Extrapolating a course is going to be fairly simple. I'm going to call this difficulty 1.
And astronavigation?
Absolutely.
And what is the Dauntless rolling for this?
The Dauntless will be rolling... Let me check. Sensors con for the Dauntless, I think. Or, yeah. No, Computers con works for the Dauntless. You're right. Nice roll there, Jonas.
Just trying to build us some momentum.
And you did. You built up too. Let me check another note here. Excuse me. I'm gonna open up my Microsoft Word.
While they're extrapolating the course, Commander Bosch will lean over and say, Captain, I recommend that we bring aboard some of the mycelium strands in a sample container under force field. Let the doctor look it over, see if he can scrape off any additional residue that might tell us what it was attached to.
Good call. I just kind of, I nod to, I guess it would probably be,
Dash?
No, to sell.
Oh, yeah, okay. Good call.
Oh, yeah, okay.
To sell.
I totally forgot. I'm so glad. Yeah, that's right. I have a character on the bridge right. I will push.
Say again, you broke up there.
I will do the containing of.
Okay. So what you're looking at doing here is basically transporting some of this stuff using the ship's transporters, I'm guessing, into a containment field within sickbay.
Or even like a small, like...
Or like a science lab.
Yeah, or like a lab, like a small sample dish, or not like... You know, like the jars that hold the stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, one of those.
Okay. So it's going to be difficulty 2, control engineering. The ship can assist with computers engineering.
Okie day.
Would my computer's focus apply for this?
No, because you're primarily using the transporters to do this.
You
One
said
day I will get a transport.
you said computers engineering.
For the Dauntless, yes.
Okay.
Wow, Dauntless.
Well, every once in a while, even the Dauntless has a bad day.
Sorry.
I'm going to bank that as threat. You guys did succeed at the task, so you get a sample of these spores, and they are waiting for further examination in Science Lab 1.
Tassel's gonna go do that.
What?
If Madon wants to come with her, Tassel will head down as well.
Yeah. Sapphire's gonna want the science out of this, so.
Have Vulcan Science Club.
True.
Tassel is half Vulcan, half Deltan.
Yeah. Steph told me before.
Oh, okay, cool.
Half Vulcan science.
Okay, so they head down to as they're heading down to the science lab, Jonas, you're able to extrapolate a result.
I have a heading, Captain.
Engage.
DSS 045, the Ciatina system.
Oh, this is fine.
Which ones are the Ciatina?
They're the ones who had Omega technology.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I'm assuming Jonas does not know that.
Not unless someone told him.
Yeah, no, I think with the Omega stuff, it's kind of hush-hush, need to know.
Very much so. Okay.
But on our way there, Bianca is going to take Bosch into her ready room and bring him up to speed a little bit.
Okay. Before we leave the bridge, I'll ask you, Captain, if you'd like me to relay our new course and heading to the task force commander on the Yorktown to let him know that we'll be leaving the system.
Please do.
Okay, I'll type
Don't
a
want to
few.
be accused of running off leash.
Type a few keystrokes into my panel at my chair, and then follow her into her ready room.
Okay. Jonas, give me a control engineering. Difficulty here is going to be 1, due to your familiarity with this area of space.
You said
Engineering?
control engineering?
No, sorry. Brain fart. Control con.
Hey, I mean, both my con engineering are pretty good, so.
Fair. It'll be structure con for the Dauntless.
And helm operations, astronavigation.
Yep. Both, really. Okay, 2 successes there, and 1 from the ship. Okay, so Dauntless comes about and goes to warp. And as it does so, Bianca, you and Bosch go into the ready room.
I'm just going to hand him a pad that shows the readings that we came across when we first sauntered into the Ciatina's star system, and it just has this big red Omega on it.
And I know that in the Voyager timeframe, the Omega directive was explicitly captains only. Do I even know what I'm looking at?
No.
Okay. I wouldn't figure I would. So I'll look up at her and say, it's a little bit late for sorority or fraternity work, Captain.
No, this is the Omega Directive.
Should I be sitting down for this?
Probably.
All right, I'll take a seat.
I'm going to, for the purposes of this mission, I'm going to declassify everything known by Starfleet about Omega. Normally it's my clearance level or above.
Captains in the past,
But considering we're going to...
Sorry, just a quick interruption. Captains in the intervening years have been given discretion to brief their crew members by order of Admiral Janeway.
Right, and that's what I'm doing now.
Yep.
And I'm going to, I said, I'm going to basically like show him everything we know about Omega. And I say, the Ciatina, the Omega molecule is notoriously unstable, and if detonated, it can destroy subspace for, I forget how many, 900 light years, something like that?
Depends on the quantity of Omega involved.
This particular region of space is rife with Omega particles. A species native to that area of space had figured out how to harness the energy. And all of their technology was based on the Omega particle.
I'll be reading through the pad and I'll let out a low whistle. I'm also trying to bring to my memory the name of that system where the rogue scientist set off that first Omega reaction that Kirk was around for back in the 2200s, give or take. But I'll look up at the captain and say, so how does the Prime Directive apply to this situation?
They do have warp capability, so we did make first contact, and we tried to convince them to at least slow their progress with Omega research because they were powering their ships with it.
Dauntless is like, slow your roll.
And
you want to get subspace rifts? This is how you get subspace rifts.
I was like, I don't need to. You're smart enough technically that you can understand that you can understand the implications of starships powered by Omega molecules.
I'll say. It says in this report that, at least until recently, standing orders were for captains to seek out and destroy all instances of Omega. I gather that's not how this last mission to the system worked out for you, huh?
No. For one, we wouldn't have had the capabilities to destroy all the Omega particles. For another, our science officer at the time objected pretty heavily to that particular doctrine. But we were eventually able to convince them to stop using Omega particle technology because this particular particle is of special interest to the Borg. And the Borg came knocking.
I'll bet it is. I'd love to get their hands on this.
Yeah, to them, it's perfection. And they would do anything to assimilate it.
Don't worry. 19 will regale you about it later.
Look forward to speaking with her about it. Or them about it, rather.
So, that's... Whatever this is, the fact that it's booking it straight for the Ciatina system... I don't know why, but it can't be good.
Well, is there anything that we should be doing to prepare? How far away are we from the Ciatina system? Do we know?
As soon as we're in communications range, I'm going to be sending them a communique, telling them that we're coming, and that we're investigating something strange.
Should I ask security to prepare any tricobalt implosive devices? to deal with any potential Omega reactions?
That probably might be for the best, actually. It's a very volatile region of space we're going into. I want to be prepared.
Understood.
I don't want to have to use any sort of weapon unless it's a last resort, I should say.
Well, if there's anything Starfleet's about, it's not shooting first. Sometimes, to our chagrin.
Right. Well, we'll see what we see when we get there, huh? Hopefully don't blow up in the process.
Yes, I would like to actually sleep in my new bed before it gets blown up.
Fair enough. But we should be arriving soon. Let's get back to it.
All right.
All right. Give me just a moment here, guys, to kind of set a couple of things up.
In the interim, I'll be sending down some communiques to the torpedo control and weapons control to prepare a few. I assume that we're doing mostly quantum torpedoes these days.
Yes, quantum torpedoes on board the Dauntless.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ask Sarah to tell you about Dauntless and quantum torpedoes after the session.
Oh my gosh. Beautiful.
So I'll instruct them to prepare, I would say, 5 quantum torpedoes with tricobalt implosive devices.
All right. On that note, we are going to change scenes to the medical bay of a Romulan ship.
And we lose some momentum.
Yes.
Oh, we're at the Romulans now. Fun. Friends!
Yeah, 19 got a couple of eyebrows just because the Romulan physiology was kind of evident. But
yeah, and they're probably like, Borg? Romulan? No.
Yeah, right. They have, however, been working fairly well. They got the memo ahead of time and have had the hollow emitter set up. So here it is a relatively simple matter of installing the code for the EMH in their computer system. Which, if you would like to take point on 19, it will be Control Engineering, difficulty 2, and the doctor will assist.
Ooh, okay.
There be momentum.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a momentum, actually.
Okay. And I'm going to give the doctor a focus on this because he's basically installing himself. Alright, that is actually a success from the doctor. Plus 3 from you. So you guys actually gained 2 momentum on that one.
Yay!
After a few minutes of programming, the doctor turns to the ship's chief medical officer and says, "Okay, try it out. Computer, activate emergency medical hologram." And this Romulan version of the EMH fizzles into being. Please state the nature of the medical emergency. And if anything, this version of the EMH seems more cold, more reserved, more like the Dauntless's original EMH. In fact, the doctor kind of leans over to you, 19, and the stage whispers, "I uninstalled some of the bedside manner upgrades for this model."
They'll appreciate it.
I thought so. And here is where I am going to spend 2 threat.
Oh, good. Oh, perfect. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye! No.
Turns out there's Talshiar on board, and I'm gonna get him.
Give me an insight security roll, 19.
Oh, good. Some of my best rolls. Oh, my security actually isn't that bad.
Oh,
At least it's not
the
present.
doctor helped you guys out. I'm going to say the difficulty here is 1.
I don't think I have a focus.
Okay. No, you probably don't. You're not a security officer, you're a doctor.
Yeah. Am I assisting or am I?
You are doing your own role. That was the difficulty. You hear the doors open and 3 Romulans storm into the medical bay. The newly installed EMH says, "Wait a moment. There's no need for weapons." And one of the Romulan guards fires a disruptor, goes right through him, and scores the wall on the other side. Now that's quite uncalled for.
Okay. Are they all? Like, what are their?
The 2 on the sides are sub-lieutenants. The one in the middle is a commander. And
Okay.
I'm going to have you give me a control command roll here. Difficulty 3.
Uh-huh. Cool. Okay.
You got momentum if you want to take it.
I'm trying to debate if I want to use it. Okay. You said control command?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're kind of worried, you also have your determination if any of them apply.
Oh, no. I'm gonna take no, I'm not gonna take a momentum.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, 2.
Okay, so this is an LA. In the middle, with a disruptor pistol pointed directly at your chest.
Oh.
Identify yourself.
I need to make a composure roll.
You just did.
And I failed, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Oh, geez. I wonder if Jonas's spider senses are going off.
You're too far. Well, I mean, you might hear the distant, like, echoing screaming across the other end of the sector. I'm just gonna stare, like, kind of in stunned silence.
She motions to the 2 guards who put away their disruptors, but one of them grabs you by each arm. She motions to the actual doctor, not the EMH that you guys just installed. And meanwhile, Voyager's EMH is looking at, like, what is the meaning of this? What is going on here?
Hold on, I'm looking up a word.
Looking up a word. Okay. Let me know when you've looked up the word.
There it is. Okay.
Okay. Ooh, ouch.
Yeah, so, like, as the doctor's protesting and, like, I'm grabbed on either side, like, I'm just, like, too shocked to even resist. Like, I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, hey, only like less than a week ago, I saw your picture and had a fucking mental break. Now I'm seeing you in person? And so I'm just gonna like kind of like look to the side as I'm grabbed on one arm and then look back to her and just kind of quietly under my breath just go Rinan? Which is Romulan for sister.
She says, my sister died on Romulus, but we'll see who you really are. Blood test. Now, she says, motioning to the doctor, who jabs a hypospray onto the side of your neck and
Ow.
comes out a second later with a sample.
My sister died on Romulus.
So did mine. And so this, the Romulan doctor inputs inputs the sample of your blood into his computer system, and starts running a test. You see results start coming up on the display on this center monitor here. Too quickly for a human eye to quite follow. You're barely able to follow it as it's listing Romulan names thousands on the screen, thousands in the matter of a few seconds until it finally settles on a name.
Okay.
Nalei Iparthok Dakota. At which point Nalei turns to you and says, "You're me?"
What?
This is about the moment where the Dauntless arrives in the Ciatina system. Your hails coming into the system thus far have gone unanswered.
Is it possible to try and listen for anything hinky again?
Yes. This will be Insight Command, difficulty 2.
I also want to do a sense check.
Okay. And Sapphic, I'm going to have you do a traditional sensor scan with the Dauntless' sensors. So that'll be Reason Science for you, difficulty 2. And the Dauntless will roll Sensor Science.
What was the?
I'll take the first. I'll take the first roll on that.
What was the difficulty for my roll?
2. It's two across the board for you guys. And Steph, if you wouldn't mind rolling for the Dauntless Sensor Science. Okay.
I'm going to re-roll that 0.
Okay. You can't do that if you didn't spend a momentum.
Oh, that's right. Never mind.
Sorry. Okay, so Jonas, you just kind of close your eyes as the Dauntless is coasting in toward orbit, and you don't hear anything. Like it's not one of those instances where you couldn't concentrate. You are able to concentrate. You reach that spot that you're now starting to grow familiar with from having used your kinesthesia with the universe. You're starting to understand this is what it feels like to listen to the universe. And that's starting to carry over to the more traditional Elarian senses. It's just quiet.
normally there's music and I hear nothing.
You hear nothing at all. Sapphic, you get the sensor readouts from the Dauntless's sensors. There are no life signs on the planet's surface. And that's where we end tonight's episode.
Damn.
Oh
Yay!
my god!